Some London streets have parking problems. Most London streets have bin day. And then there's the London street where the main concern is whether your neighbor is a billionaire or an ambassador. Kensington Palace Gardens. One of those extraordinary, half-forgotten London places. Not a square, not a street, not really even a road. More a statement. Kensington Palace Gardens, W8. Private, exclusive, secure. A place where the super-rich live cheek by jowl with ambassadors and high commissioners. Houses here go far into 8 figures, tens of millions. 60 million would not raise an eyebrow. And at the same time, it's about as close as London gets to a diplomatic enclave. Money and statecraft, side by side behind the same line of plane trees. The loftier residents, we're told, call it KPG. Yes, KPG, which, depending on your turn of mind, is either very grand or just a whisker away from KGB. Now here's the thing. This wasn't always a billionaire's boulevard. It began life as the kitchen garden of Kensington Palace. Vegetables, herbs, the practical business of feeding a royal household. And then, mid-19th century London does what London does best. It reinvents. James Pennethorne lays it out in the 1840s. And up go the houses. Between about 1844 and 1870. Not houses, really. Palaces pretending to be houses. We're talking seriously big beasts. 40 rooms would not be unusual here. Some more. Even the smaller ones, and that's a relative term, run to 20 or 30 rooms. The great Victorian novelist William Makepeace Thackeray's house, now the Israeli embassy, comes in at 24 rooms. Others comfortably double that. This is not domestic scale. This is architectural swagger. And then, of course, there's the darker chapter. Because between 1940 and 1948, number 7, 8, and 9 Kensington Palace Gardens became something else entirely. The Combined Services Detailed Interrogation Center. Or, if you prefer, the London Cage. In effect, the most important war crimes interrogation unit outside Germany, where German prisoners were questioned. And, depending on who you read, question may be putting it politely, doing quite a lot of work in that sentence. The man in charge, Colonel Alexander Scotland, always denied brutality. He tried to publish his memoirs in the 1950s. The authorities effectively slapped a D notice on it. What appeared was heavily redacted. A lot of those restrictions have only been lifted in recent years. And historians, like Helen Fry, in her book The London Cage, have gone back into the archives and shed a good deal of light on what went on there. We know some of the methods: sleep deprivation, stress positions, humiliation, men forced to stand for hours, forced to strip, pushed to the edge of endurance, not necessarily leaving marks, but not exactly gentle persuasion either. No full inquiry was ever carried out, then or since, which leaves us with a rather uncomfortable thought, that in this most exclusive of London streets, behind those high walls and clipped hedges, some of the grimmest business of the Second World War was being conducted, quietly, systematically, and to a degree still not entirely explained. So let that sink in. Just there you've got Kensington Palace, full of major and minor royals. King Charles, when he was Prince Charles, called Kensington Palace the ant heap. And then, just a stone's throw away from the palace, you've got Nazi war criminals being tortured. Or another way of putting that, one lot of Germans here, another lot of Germans there. Welcome to Kensington, ladies and gentlemen. And the funny business doesn't end on that note. The Cold War arrives, and suddenly this quiet, tree-lined avenue becomes a front line of sorts. The Soviet embassy, the Czechoslovak embassy, the Romanian embassy, eyes watching eyes, diplomats observing diplomats, a street that looks serene and hums with invisible tension. And today, the embassies are still here. Romanian, Russian, Nepalese, Slovakian, Lebanese, alongside private residences of staggering wealth. A place where, if you are very rich indeed, you live here. And if you are very powerful indeed, you represent your country here. Kensington Palace Gardens, from cabbages to interrogations, to oligarchs and ambassadors, and where, if you're feeling particularly grand, you don't live in Kensington, you live in KPG. But tomorrow we leave the embassies and the billionaires behind and step into a rather different London world, a world of sawdust, spotlights, and one of those extraordinary half-forgotten London characters, a circus proprietor, in Kensington Palace Gardens, with, as it happens, a rather intriguing Russian connection. That's tomorrow. London Calling, London Walks Connecting. This is London. This is London Walks. Streets ahead, story time, history time. And until tomorrow, here's to no end of great Londoning. See you then.